hunting,
fishing,
cooking,
camping,
conservation,
travel,
gardening,
photography, family.
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 This is the Outdoor Rules Podcast. Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Outdoor Rules Podcast. Very special guest back this week, Jeremy Cressley, owner of Mountain Hollow Game Calls. How's it going, Jeremy?
Good, man. Good to be back. Thanks for having me back in the studio post-turkey season this time instead of... I can't remember the first time we did it. It was definitely before turkey season.
Yeah, I was looking back. It's a long time ago. I put out episode 85 was last week, and I think we were way back in episode 72. So
that's cool. That's
yeah,
cool.
so 13 weeks ago or so we talked. It was well before the beginning of turkey season here, that's for sure.
Yep, for sure.
So I don't know. I guess we'll kind of jump right into it. I figured we'd do a little bit of a season recap for our regular listeners that probably gotten a flavor that I didn't have the best turkey season ever. How was yours, Jeremy?
Oh, it was good. I mean, I killed a bird in Florida. I'm glad you were talking about post turkey season though, because Florida was different, man. Have you ever hunted Florida?
No.
If I'm telling you right now, if I grew up in Florida, I don't know if I would be a turkey hunter. I'm just telling you.
Why did you say that?
I mean, so we went with an outfitter, we went with, not really an outfitter. His name was Steve Reed and Eddie Salter, which I'm sure probably is a familiar name for a lot of turkey people out there, but we went on private land that they took us on, which was fine. It's just, you're sitting down hunting over decoys, waiting for turkeys to come in. So we hunted them like deer, which you'd go in the morning and you would sit until the turkeys walked by, calling every 20 or 30 minutes. We ended up calling birds in, but it's not like you don't have thousands and thousands of acres to roam around in.
Mm-hmm.
Like Pennsylvania or even New Mexico. I've been looking a little bit at New Mexico and talking to you. You're very much confined, to an area. You're relying on basically our guide. There's turkeys there, which there were. We had a really good hunt, but it's just take those Walmart chairs, you take your ground blind and put some decoys up and wait for turkeys to work. And that's exactly what happened. So, but
you guys were hunting out of blinds mostly?
Yeah, we didn't use a blind the second day, but we took our stools in and sat like up against some deadfall or a nice setup and then some cover. Yeah, we were just digging in, making the most of it, just calling, like I said, relying on the guide and Eddie to that the birds are there, and it worked out. So we killed 4 birds by the second morning, and then we had a day and a half, and I decided that I wanted to go to public land, and that's the reason why I made the statement I made. So I'm going to tell a little bit of a story here. It's just different. Like in Florida, swamps, alligators, snakes, all that fun stuff, right? Which right. I hate all of it. I don't like any of it. I'm just telling you right now, I don't like it. And
I'll cross a couple New Mexico locations off the potential.
Yes,
no alligators. You don't have to worry about swamps or alligators. Not a problem. Snakes,
that's a bonus.
Snakes are a real possibility here.
And what do you guys have, like scorpions, or what else you got out there other than snakes?
Yeah, there definitely are scorpions and black widow spiders and some of that other stuff. But
yeah, I won't be sleeping in any tents or any hammocks or anything like that.
I'll keep that in mind.
But we were doing some research after that afternoon of the second day, and there was a piece of public land. I believe it was called Mallory Swamp, I think. And this is just a quick Google search. Where's their public land? And said there were turkeys there. So we went and decided we're going to drive around. I can't remember how big it was. It was pretty big, but there were roads. There were roads all the way through it, across it, up, down it. You could drive everywhere, and very few trees and a whole lot of swamp brush that was like 6 to 10 feet tall, and drainage ditches and just some nasty looking stuff that I didn't like. So we drove around all afternoon in the car, and got out, ripped on the box call a few times. There weren't any trees. I mean, there was like a pocket here, a pocket there, a pocket over. I mean, I'm not talking 100 yards apart. I'm talking quarter mile that way, quarter mile that way. It was just different. And we didn't hear any turkeys. We saw a couple that afternoon. Hens crossing the road, which I don't even know how they survive in there. It has to be a miracle. And the next morning, we decided we were going to go there. And well, let me back up. The first stop we made that afternoon, I opened the door of the rental car and I step on the running board and I look to my left on the road and there's a 4 or 5 foot rattlesnake. Not
Nice.
not 100 yards into this piece, and I'm like, no, I ain't. My foot hit the road and I was back on the running board as soon as I got off of it. I'm like, man, are there really that many? Like, it just felt like there was going to be a snake hanging from every bush, I'm like, is there really that many? And so the next morning, we drove all around that place the night before. And the next morning, we started right where that rattlesnake was because there was a couple groups of trees a couple 100 yards off the road. And sure enough, right at daylight, this bird, gobble, gobble. So I'm like, are you kidding me? Like,
Nice.
okay. So this was the only place that we found in this however many thousands of acres that it was where a road went down through the swamp. And like we didn't know if it went left or right or straight, but we at least knew that we could walk on a road, not going through all that other stuff to get at least try to hunt these turkeys. And I'm telling you what, man, it was the most nerve-wracking, I don't know, 5, 6, 700 yard walk of my life. Like, this Pennsylvania boy is not cut out for that. I'm just telling you. And I don't feel bad admitting this because the other two guys I were with, they're like 6'5", 250 pounds, and they felt the same way. So, like, we were doing everything but holding hands walking down through I call it the jungle, whatever it was, But, man, every step I'm just like, the turkeys were gobbling. I didn't care. I'm like, nope. I'm looking for a snake. I'm looking for a gator. Blah, 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 blah. And the birds never answered us. Never once did they answer us. We owl hooted like 6 or 7 times just to keep tabs on him. He answered the owl hooter every single time and never answered a turkey call. We sat down next to a tree. We tried to be patient because we just learned over a day and a half that, if you just they may not gobble. Even on private land, they didn't gobble a whole lot. They may not gobble, but that doesn't mean they're not coming. We all know that. But the birds never came. There was all kinds of turkey sign, and we ended up leaving, driving all over this place, coming back at noon. Never struck them up again, and that was our hunt. But when we come out at noon, there's a game warden waiting for us. Nothing bad happened. He checked us. We had a good conversation with him, and I said, sir, the first stop we made was right here where we were parked. And I said, we saw a rattlesnake immediately. And he goes, I go, how many, like, online, big warning, like rattlesnakes, alligators, water moccasins, whatever, like all poisonous stuff or stuff that'll kill you. And I said, is there really like that much of it here? Because it is all swamp. I mean, we're looking at all swamp as far as you can see. And they were in a drought. I don't think they had rain for like a month, or maybe very little rain over a month. And he goes, oh yeah. He goes, I don't know, where they're at now, but he goes, normally these ditches are full and there's water everywhere. And he goes, we have guys that run pigs in here with their dogs because they have pigs in there too. Mm-hmm. And every year the dogs come up missing. I'm like, oh my goodness. Like that. I'm not walking through there. I don't know.
At least he didn't say the guys come up missing.
Yeah, well, I think the guys probably stand on the road and wait for the dogs to force the pig out of the swamp is what happens. Right. But yeah, so that was my Florida story, public land. I know a lot of guys do it, and we've watched how many YouTube videos of guys going in there, but it's just not my cup of tea, man. I'm telling you, I'm not built for that.
Yeah. And when we talked last, way back when, we talked sort of about those four subspecies of turkeys. You guys have Easterns in Pennsylvania, mostly Merriam's here in New Mexico, although we're in the Rio Grande Basin, so there are Rio Grandes here. Um, and then the four subspecies is the one that you were hunting in Florida, which is Osceola. Other than that style of hunting, was there anything that felt really different about that? Was it close? Was it like really tight or open, or about what the same as a lot of what you hunt in Pennsylvania?
It was all flat. I mean, there was no even the private ground. Is that what you're referring to, like the terrain and everything?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
right, and like the shooting and
Yeah, I mean there was. It's similar to Pennsylvania, I guess, in regards to like how you hunt them, like as far as calling and setting up. But like on the private land, even the biggest difference I think is even on private land they just didn't gobble a lot. Like even when we were told they were really gobbling, it to us it was like not really. Like
oh yeah,
when a bird is fired up in Pennsylvania, man, he is fired up. Like
yeah,
he's. I mean, I'm sure you sent me that video before the year started. I remember that video, and I mean, it's nothing to hear one gobbler here at some point throughout the season gobble 100 times on the limb. I mean, it does happen every year. Every year in my life that has happened. But in Florida, first time I've been there, but the general consensus is that they'll answer, they're responsive, but just because they aren't gobbling, more often than not, if an Osceola's coming in, you need to be patient because he's not just going to gobble all the way in all the
yeah,
time, even on private land, even when he's not pressured at all, because he wasn't, because we hunted birds that never got hunted.
right. Did When you hunted public there, did you get the sense that there was a lot of pressure?
Yeah, there was foot tracks for sure.
Yeah,
The only road that we walked down, there were foot tracks going in and out,
yeah,
and we hunted opening weekend. I mean, it didn't take long for people to get back in there, and then honestly, I can see why, because that's the only place that I would have went, in that
yeah,
whole swamp. So it just made sense. I'm surprised a bird gobbled right there. I couldn't believe it. I'm like,
yeah.
every turkey hunter that's been in here has definitely stopped right here where I'm at right now,
Right.
and there was bird right there.
It is funny because it's really, I mean, it can really be tough in those states and places that don't have a lot of public land, but have a lot of hunters. And I lived in Kentucky for a couple years, and there's a ton of turkeys in Kentucky. I was in Western Kentucky, but there's almost no public ground there, and one of the only places that you could go was Peabody Coal Company land. Um, and I did that one weekend, and it was just like, I mean, it was 5 times worse than anywhere I ever saw in Pennsylvania. you know,
Yep.
like coming out of Pennsylvania, I feel like you're a little bit used to it especially early in the season, but man, it was crazy. And it just like, you go there and you're like, I don't know how anybody could possibly kill a turkey outside of just
Yeah.
getting lucky and having somebody basically bump one into you, you know.
And that's
But
a good point. So Florida, I've been to a few different public land states, and I was looking at New Mexico, and it looks like New Mexico, just like a lot of those states. I call it out west. It's definitely it's out
yeah,
west, but they have like programs, right? Like if it's not a national forest, it's BLM, or it's there's private ground that the landowner allows you to hunt. There's certain programs all over the place when you start heading west. And in Florida, uh, there's kind of like a business end to this Osceola. Like so the public land has all these rules. Like you're only allowed non-residents are only allowed to hunt it like by the second weekend, and then of course there's the private ground where you're paying people to take you, but you don't get permission out. Like there's
yeah.
no permission. Like
You're
knocking on
not
doors.
knocking on doors.
No, you can try, but you're gonna get told no. Somebody's paid me to hunt here. Like out west, I was looking at New Mexico. We've been talking about New Mexico, and we're gonna hopefully come see you next year to see how that works out. But there's national forest, there's BLM, there's even like Indian reservation, which permit only or whatever
Yeah,
that is. But But then there's private ground that's open for hunting as long as you take all the necessary steps to get on it.
Yeah,
And
we have so much
yeah,
public ground here, like you're saying, BLM, Forest Service, state-owned lands, and then there's some department properties that are good. Some New Mexico Department of Wildlife or Game and Fish properties that can be good, and then like you're saying, there's a program called Open Gate here, which is that like private land, public access deal. So there's a lot of places to
yeah,
hunt compared to Kentucky.
yeah. It's funny too because even out west, comparing it to like Pennsylvania, like when I moved to Bradford, where I grew up in Corey, is only like an hour and a half from here, and getting on land is either state game land or it's owned by somebody.
Hmm.
And when I come to Bradford, there's national forests, and you would never know coming here, like as a non-resident, all this timber company property that is open for hunting. You would never know.
Yeah.
You would just assume you couldn't go there, and there's thousands of acres of land that's huntable, unless it's leased. So I think that's the biggest difference. Even from east, we'll just divide the country up east to west. It feels like when you go out west, they want you to be there. When you come back east, it's like we don't really care if you're here or not.
Yeah.
Like that's what it feels like to me.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's a good point. It does really feel like one of the biggest barriers to entry with turkey hunting and with any kind of hunting is that access piece. Like,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can't it's hard to get into hunting if you don't have anywhere to go. And then if you don't know what you're doing, it's so intimidating with like, the etiquette even on public lands, particularly back there cuz you can't get away from people.
right.
I mean, if you hunt in Pennsylvania, you're not going to get away from people,
No,
not completely
no.
in 99% of the places. So then there's kind of an etiquette around it. And, people can get pretty weird about stuff.
Yeah,
Uh, do you have any good stories about that? Like, have you ever run into that kind of etiquette thing that's been
yeah,
weird or tough?
yeah. So I'll never forget this because the Ken and I started traveling almost immediately after I started on pro staff, and we went to a handful of states, and we went to North Carolina, and the place we hunted was pretty much wiped away by that hurricane a few years ago. But we were going super early in the morning, and I was dropping him off. We had one car, so I was dropping him off at this point, and then I was going to another point. And I'll never forget. It was Easter. It was the week of Easter. So Good Friday, and then you had Saturday, and I can't remember if you get to hunt on Sundays or not. But either way, it was Easter weekend, and Ken is literally. I've dropped him off at like 3:30 in the morning. Like nobody is around, and
Yeah.
he's standing at the gate just hanging out. He knows where he wants to go. And I said, hang out at the gate, and if somebody comes, maybe they won't go in there. And he's like, yeah, that's a good idea. So just let somebody know you're gonna be walking around in there. And then I drove up the road, parked the car, so I had the vehicle, and I went in. And both of us, I come out. I was the first car in line when I got there, the only car. And when I come out, there was 4 or 5 cars behind me, and they just don't care. I mean, the
Yeah.
second person didn't care, the third person didn't care, the fourth person didn't care. So like they just go, and I guess
Right.
maybe that is the proper etiquette at that location or whatever. But
Right.
Ken is standing at the gate, and a guy pulls in, and he asks Ken if he's turkey hunting, and he goes, "Me too." They pretty much walked in together.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I can honestly say that I have left, and I'll leave spots if somebody's parked there. I'm not going in there, but not everybody does that, and it's definitely not a law that says you have to. Just you could park bumper to bumper and hunt different spots as long as it's big enough. Most cases it's probably not big enough.
Right. My brother and I one year we went and got set up for before the first day of deer season, and he went sort of one way and I went another, and I think we were hunting with climbing tree stands, and he I think we went in like the day before or whatever and hung our tree stands on the base of the tree. And this would have been on Susquehannock State Forest in Potter County. And you get in there early, climbed up, and this, about light, this older gentleman comes rolling in there and literally like sits down in a log 5 yards from the base of the trees in. And Matt's like, I don't know how he could have not seen me. So he's like, I finally get his attention. He just looks up at me and he says, son, I've been hunting here for 30 years and I'm going to make it 31. So, like,
Okay.
all right. Public land. What do you say? I guess.
Yeah. I mean,
so
you can get upset by it, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
The number one biggest thing that makes turkey hunting exciting for everyone, in my opinion, is the kiss of death that makes public hunting so frustrating is a bird gobbles. Nobody wants to hunt a bird that doesn't gobble.
Right.
If you're standing on this ridge and you hear one gobble on that ridge, you're probably going over to that ridge.
Right.
With the other three guys that are hunting it.
You and everybody else in earshot.
Yeah.
That is really the beauty of hunting them here is like, I'm not going to say it never happens. In some of the places, like if you're hunting closer to Albuquerque or even closer to Santa Fe, I think there'll be trailheads with multiple cars or whatever. But most of the places that I hunt, if you're driving in there and there's a car where you want to go, you just keep on driving, just go to a different spot. And I think almost everybody does the same thing. I hunted quite a bit this season and I saw exactly one guy in the woods.
Wow, that's great.
Where I was away from the vehicle. I saw one dude, and that guy was actually, I give him credit. He was about as far in as I ever go, and it was an older gentleman, and he was just kind of strolling along with his shotgun slung over his shoulder. Every time a woodpecker would tap on a tree, he'd stop and look.
Yeah.
That first note of that woodpecker hitting that tree always sounds like a gobble. I think to all of us, it's always that one split second like, oh, nah.
Yep.
Not a gobble.
Or you always know turkey hunters when you drive or you're walking through the woods or whatever with your buddy and the guy that keeps walking when a crow goes off or the woodpecker hits the tree, he's like, he's not hunting turkeys.
No.
Everybody else is like,
right.
No, I didn't hear one. Never mind.
Oh man, yeah.
Well, tell me about your turkey season a little bit. You said it was a little bit of a grind for you, which
sounds
like you're hunting.
I'd rather not talk about it.
Well, so in your opinion, what was different? I mean, I'm curious because we're.
So this was by far the hottest and driest turkey season since I've been here, and I really suspected it had to be one of the hottest, driest March and Aprils on record. Like it was crazy, and by way of example, there's a spot that I really like to hunt that's up a Forest Service road, but only maybe like a mile or a mile and a half up the road, and there are years where there's enough snow that it's a little sketchy to get to that spot on the first day, which it always opens April 15th here. So some years it's a little bit hard just to get to that spot. And then there's kind of a spot on the mountain that casts a lot of shade over the road just above that where like you can't even think about trying to get through. The drift is still, 5 feet deep, and maybe in the early morning it's hard enough to get over, but then if you're trying to get back through it after it's thawed, you'd be totally 100% stuck. And if you got through that one, you go another half mile before you hit another one. So this year on April 15th, there was not one snowdrift anywhere I could find in the thickest timber on the steepest north facing slope. And it wasn't just that there was no snow. It was like September archery elk hunting, crispy, dry, just absolutely bone dry. And I always get kind of excited in the spring. I've talked to some people, some knowledgeable folks about turkeys here, who have told me like, oh, they really like to eat dandelions because it's usually, you know, into the second week of the season before you even see the first dandelion starting to pop up in a meadow here. Well, they were like dandelions were everywhere on the first day, and by the second week of the season, there were dandelions gone to seed already. So
Interesting.
I think that was kind of what was different about the season. And I know I told you this. We talked at one point. I talked to a game bird biologist with New Mexico Department of Wildlife, and she said that they tagged or they put a transmitter on a hen in the general area that I hunt. I don't know exactly where they tagged it, but within 10 miles of where I'm hunting. And she said that bird went 50 miles into Colorado before she nested, walked 50 miles north.
Yeah, I can't. When you told me that, I'm thinking, man, that's a
I mean,
long ways.
I, I've never even the thought that a turkey would go that far, it like, within a month or two period in the spring has never even occurred to me.
Right. So what is she looking for that she couldn't find 50
I,
miles
yeah,
between
I
that?
mean, I
You
don't
know
know.
what I mean?
I don't know if it's soil moisture and like, cause I saw very few grasshoppers through the whole season. I just didn't see, I feel like a lot of the things that I normally would have seen. And what I felt like was weird, I think Caitlin and I maybe on one episode kind of talked about our first day. And, you know, it's always like, it's one of the things that I love and hate about hunting, but like you always have to be ready in every situation. But on the first morning, we didn't hear anything early on the roost, and then 5 minutes before they should have been flying down, one finally fired off, and he gobbled a handful of times. We were pretty close to him. I knew, I knew the country I was in. I had an idea what I thought he might do. He was responding to me some, and so instead of sitting right on the edge of this little meadow, kind of this long, thin meadow that goes down the mountain, separates these two ridges. I always hate sitting on the edge of them because I feel so exposed and I feel like they're going to get to the other side and see that there's not a turkey there and they won't cross, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
Well, so I backed up off the edge of the meadow 30 or 40 yards where we had a little bit of cover, and bird flew down, walked, Caitlin said, oh, there he is, Mike. I see him coming. So she's watching him come down the far ridge. He's coming right to us. And I rarely see a turkey at that, like, he's probably 100 to 150 yards at that point. I rarely see a bird in that situation think, oh, we're going to get him. But I swear I thought like, oh, we're going to get this one. Like he's coming in on a rope.
Right, he's coming. Yeah.
This is perfect. He got right in the middle of that darn meadow and turned and went up it and stayed at just about 70 yards, probably, gobbling the whole way. Everything I did, he gobbled at. But, I did all kinds of stuff. There was one point he got behind a tree. I did a fly down, on my chest and cackled at him. And he turned and looked and gobbled. And I had a fold up fan that I stuff in the back of my vest. I busted that out and was trying to show it to him, and he'd look and gobble, but he just would not come. But it turned out that was the best opportunity of the entire season. First 15 minutes of the season was far and away the closest that we got to getting a shot at a turkey. So that is obviously the long story short, is I didn't get one. But what I would say about it is when we went in there that opening day, I was like, wow, there's a lot of turkey sign in here. Like there's more turkey sign in here than usual, but it was all kind of old. And it worried me a little bit, but then we saw that bird and I thought, oh, maybe, just in here somewhere, moving around a little bit. And then I went in there a week later and it was like all of this sign is the same sign I looked at, a week ago. And now it just looks a week older. And I think they were there. like they are every spring. I think, there were a bunch of birds around, and I think they just moved. And I did try to go higher, uh, and kind of some more north and east facing slope kind of stuff on the far side of the big ridge that runs through where I hunt. And I eventually found a couple birds. Well, I don't know. I found one or two birds, and even that one Tom in particular that I felt like I hunted a lot. I was within 100 yards of him probably three times, and once that a friend watched him, like, watch him cross a canyon and then come up onto the side that I was on, and I heard him coming, and I got in front of him, and he was 80 yards at the most down over this ridge from me, where I had like 40 yards before the lip of the ridge, and then he was probably another 40 yards down the other side. And I just, he was by himself, and he had absolutely no interest in what I was doing. He just kept working around the front of that ridge from me, and shut up, so I couldn't even really try to get around on him twice. And then I bumped him, although I don't think that I bumped him. I think he just wasn't interested. So I don't know. That second to last day, I had him 80 yards on the roost. He gobbled probably 50 times on the roost. Again, he gobbled at everything I was doing. I had hens behind me that I had seen the evening before, and then I called him in after he flew off. But I thought, oh, this is a perfect situation. He's in front of me and the hens are behind me. He seems hot. He's answering. And when he flew off, not only did he not fly the right way, he flew down the canyon that he was roosted on the edge of, to the point where it was like, he felt like 1 minute he's at 80 yards gobbling, and the next minute I was like, wait, that was a gobble, but like that was about as far away as I could hear. And that was him. He gobbled two or three times way, way down the canyon, and I never heard another turkey the rest of the season.
My buddy and I had an interesting conversation. Do you guys have a fall turkey season out there? Like, can you shoot them in the fall?
We do, although the unit that I'm in, I believe, is still exclusively archery only in that unit. It's just because of elk hunts and bear hunts and other things that are going on. But yeah, there's a fall season here.
So we have one too. And when I was a kid growing up, we used to make a habit out of going. It was always Thanksgiving, and I haven't shot. The reason why I'm bringing this up is I haven't killed a hen in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And you can kill. So the law in Pennsylvania is a bearded turkey in the spring, so it can be a hen, even though I don't know why you would do that, but you can shoot a hen if you want to. But throughout this whole year, my dad and I had conversations many times, more recently than in the past, and I don't know what the turkey population was like, hens to gobblers or whatnot when I was 12 years old, because I didn't care, right? I was just hunting. But man, it seems like around this area, from where I grew up to where I live now, you call it a turkey, and it's just like, you either come to me or that's it. More often than not. Now, I killed one bird in Pennsylvania this year. So, that week we hunted, my dad, my brother, and I. We killed 3 of them, but we only called in one bird. We got really close to him on the roost, and I guess you can say we called him off the limb because he came right down to us. But once the hens got involved, I think, I'm not sure they're coming off the hens like they used to. And I just think my buddy and I were talking about deer hunting, and you always talk about managing the herd when it comes to the rut. Like, you have to shoot does so bucks have a reason to move around, right? Like, if they have a whole group of does to themselves, then you may miss the rut, or you might just not see it because your bucks they're not traveling as far as other people's where they have to go find doe.
Yeah.
If they can stay in their home range and find doe, they probably aren't going to leave. So we were talking about turkeys, and we had an instance this year. Like, it's the end of the season, and we come in. We've been hunting this turkey, and we haven't really screwed him up at all. We were real careful about what we were doing. We came in late on the one time. It was probably an hour after daylight, and he was fired up. He was gobbling on his own. We were walking out to his ridge. He was gobbling, 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 and we felt like he was still in the tree. Nobody was up there. Nobody was hunting. No tracks. Just us. We're the only people that had hunted this place all year. And I called to this bird. I got out to this point, and we sat down. I went out to where we wanted this bird to be, and I called, and he gobbled, and I called again, and he gobbled, and I pop, 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 like a hen flew down, and he gobbled, and I went back and sat down. The next time he gobbled, he was one ridge over.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, that don't even make sense. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, that bird, that's a bird that you're thinking, sit down, take your safety off, and get ready.
Yeah.
But you can't prove it. Just have a theory. It's just me thinking about turkeys and what I think happened. I truly believe that what happened that day is a hen either pitched off of the limb over there or was on the ground and just went that way, and that's why he did that. And
Yeah.
I think there's a lot more competition in the woods than people realize, and condition like environmental conditions, like you talk about drought. That's one thing. They need water to survive, and the conditions around where they live is. But when you start talking about gobblers and hens, and if there's 5 hens to every gobbler, if there's 7 hens to every gobbler, that gets tough.
Yeah.
that's not ideal.
No, no, especially not when they're still with them. I mean, that's why.
Yeah.
I know we talked in the last episode about kind of, as you go through the season, and I really prefer the last. I mean, really, I prefer it as late as I can hunt. I always try to hunt the last couple days, just because I feel like more hens have gone to nest, or
Right.
are in that mode, and particularly later in the morning, the gobblers end up separated from the hens and are much easier to call in. And that's, I mean, that for me, so much of the magic happens then when it's just like 10:30 in the morning and you're walking through the woods and you haven't heard anything in 3 hours, and you yelp a couple times and one responds, and 4
Yep.
minutes later, you
He could,
shoot one.
he's dead. That's
Yeah.
that's the beauty. Yeah, that's perfect.
And I just never found one of those birds this year. And I hunted so many places I didn't go far from where I normally hunt. I mean, that was really the silver lining of the season for me, was that I checked out a whole bunch of new places. Particularly, I was looking at water sources, which one of the really unique things here in terms of my turkey hunting experience is, in Pennsylvania, you're never that far from a little creek,
No.
or
No.
it rains and there's puddles. And so, I don't think those birds really have to think all that much about water.
No.
But here, I mean, it's in a really dry year like the one we just had. We call them tanks. They're stock tanks. They're dirt ponds, essentially. Yeah, that they're the only places to get water for miles. And so it's like you feel like, well, the turkey's got to hit them. And I checked out some that had relatively fresh tracks, and even the last day I sat on one for a few hours. I was kind of like, well, I just got to try to grind one out here. And I don't know. I did see a few birds this year. I saw a few birds come to tanks, but never Tom. And I don't know, just weird. And then what I will say is the good turkey hunters that I know here in New Mexico all did pretty well. Now, most of them weren't hunting anywhere near where I was hunting, and maybe that's, should have been the sign to me to go somewhere totally different. But I know some guys that really had good seasons here and finished up early. So,
I mean, there's so many variables, right? It could be different one ridge over. It doesn't. It changes. It can half hour from where you're at. It's different. That's
well,
that is a fact.
in the place you're standing, but a half an hour after you left it can be totally different.
Yeah, or 2 weeks
That's all
ago,
it takes.
right? In April when it rained, it was different.
Yeah,
That's the crazy part. Is there's so many variables throughout the course of a turkey season. Just like deer hunting, and people can understand it. I feel like better when you're deer hunting, because there's October for us. It's October. October, no rut, food source. Bucks are here, does are here. Halloween, bucks and does are together. At some point between Halloween and the second week in November, does get bred. They leave. It's the same thing. It is the same thing, and it's just a little bit harder to understand because you don't see it. You don't see a turkey, a gobbler chasing a hen down through the woods like you do a buck.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. It's the same thing.
Yep. So you guys got a few killed in Pennsylvania then?
Yeah, like I said, my brother. So three that we killed the first week, I had a really cool hunt where we kind of got in the middle of a group of them. There was a bunch of birds that we knew of hanging out by my parents' property, and at that particular day, again timing, when we got into them, they were kind of a group down in the bottom of this field. There were some on the other side of the field in the woods that we didn't know about, and that's the one I ended up killing. But we just happened to get in there and called and got them fired up, and next thing I knew, there was two jakes and a longbeard in the field, both coming to me, which I thought the jakes were going to get rid of the longbeard, but they ended up backing off, and he came in and died. But there was 3 or 4 birds just kind of gobbling on both sides of us, and I'm just ripping on the box call. And normally I don't do that, but they were responding, and I could see them. To your point, like you said, that bird on opening day for you, I could see what was going on, so that was a big deal. I knew he was coming, and I knew the jakes were moving, and they were eating up the box call that I was running, and it was cool for me because that's the first box call that I've ever built. So
nice.
I built like 24 of these Purple Heart box calls, and I kept one that sounded really good, and I killed a turkey using it this year, so that was cool. So
nice.
as the owner of the game call company, I killed a turkey with a call that I built, so that's always a little sentimental thing for me. But my dad and my brother, we roosted them. We got, in my dad's case, we got too close. We just got in there tight, and he was like 35 yards on the limb. But if you can get away with it, why not, right? And
yeah.
We just got lucky. He literally flew down, and Dad killed him. And Aaron did the same thing. Aaron knew where he was, and got in. Like, he went in the woods at like 4 o'clock in the morning. It doesn't get daylight until like, I think it's 5:30, 5:35. So he sat there for an hour and a half, and he was literally right under him. Like he could hear him going to the bathroom in the morning, like as they were waking up.
Yeah.
Hitting the ground next to him, and the bird just dropped straight down in front of him, and he killed it. So, yeah, there's more than one way to skin a cat. But as far as calling birds in, yeah, I don't know. It seems like it gets harder and harder every year, and you just can't go in the woods and just yelp one up. Yelp. You can, but I feel like you can't.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. I've said for a long time, at the beginning of the season, I hunt turkeys because I love turkeys and I love hunting turkeys. And at the end of the season, I'm hunting turkeys because I'm mad at them.
Because the season's still in. That's why you're hunting
them. and I'm trying to kill them because I'm mad at them. But I don't know.
That first morning for me, the bird, I hunted the same ridge. I just told you about the bird pitching across to the other ridge.
Yeah.
So that morning, you'll probably see it. It'll probably be out on YouTube next year. I didn't kill one, but the first morning I went up there and I sat in almost the same spot, and the birds were fired up, and I tree yelped to them, and I started doing the thing. Like, if you had a script, I followed it, right? If I literally was holding it in my hand, I just followed it. Tree yelp, they gobble, they're on the ground, you yelp, here they come. So the only reason I didn't kill one is because the camera was on my right-hand side, and they came to the right. So they literally walked by me at like 40 yards. I couldn't do anything about it.
Right.
But those same group of birds, 1 week later, never came to a call ever again. And they ran to the gun that day.
Yeah.
So, that's what we talk about. It was 2 longbeards, and then about 2 weeks after that, it was 2 longbeards and a jake and a handful of hens. But those hens were nowhere to be found on opening day. Those birds walked past me and gobbled the whole time, and I tried to get around them, and I lost track of them. There was a big valley in there, and I don't know if didn't I didn't go through the right spot, or you know how that goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, like you said, at any moment you can kill one, and hopefully you do, because that could be it for that bird for the rest of the year. You just never know.
Yeah. Yeah, and back to that, there's actually something sort of technical on turkey hunting I wanted to ask you about, which is, do you shoot TSS?
I do.
And so for anybody that doesn't sort of follow the shotgun world, we talked about this in a shotgun episode way, way, way back. But the traditional shotgun shell has lead pellets in it. Couple hundred lead pellets in a normal turkey load. And then there's other materials that they make pellets out of. You have to use non-toxic pellets for waterfowl. So steel became a big thing actually when I was a kid, was sort of right at the real beginning of steel. And it's lighter than lead, which gives it some different characteristics in terms of how it performs on game. And then there's some more expensive alternatives that are actually as dense or denser than lead, but still non-toxic. And now in the last, I don't know what, 7 or 8 years, Jeremy?
Yeah, definitely the last 5 for sure. You're probably right as far as it coming onto the scene, but man, the last 5 years, it's like the 4th of July, it's just blown up. It's crazy.
So it's called TSS, or tungsten super shot. And it's quite a bit denser than lead. And what that means is that to get the same performance on turkeys, you can use much smaller shot, which gives you many more pellets, and it's much more effective. It's much more lethal, particularly at longer ranges. And so, like, I shoot TSS. Jeremy, you just said you did. I'm shooting a 3.5-inch Remington 870 Super Magnum. I need all the help I can get. And I think there's probably 500 or 600 pellets in that load that I'm shooting. It's an incredible advantage. What do you guys have do you guys have a partnership or a specific load that you use?
Yeah, so we're running Kinetic Gunworks, TSS, and Kicks choke tubes. I think all of our guys, I'm using 12 gauge 3-inch. Like Ken killed one with a 410. Gerald Foster uses a 410. Matt Richards, 20 gauge. So we're using pretty wide range of setups.
Yeah,
but
and part of the reason I bring it up, some of the really good turkey hunters I know here still use lead. Whatever. The downside to TSS is the cost. It's like, it's
$110 for 5 shells.
Yeah, it's right. I was gonna say it's like 10 times the cost of lead, and it's mostly the shot material that is what costs the money. But for me, that bird on the first morning at 70 yards, I could have killed that turkey. I am 100% confident, based on the patterning that I've done and some experiences that I've had, that I could have taken that bird. I don't feel bad that I didn't shoot. I mean, Caitlin and I were together. We had a great morning of turkey hunting, kind of set one person up. I wasn't really set up to shoot the direction that the turkey was. I could have probably, sort of popped up on a knee and let one fly. But the really good turkey hunters that I know that are using lead, sometimes I think I feel a little bit bad that I'm not as good a turkey hunter as them, that I need the extra help. But man, I went a whole season, and that's happened to me before, where it's like one shot at 50 or a little farther in a whole season's worth of hunting. And it is a big advantage to be able
No,
to take those birds.
it's a huge advantage, and I kind of want to touch on what you just said. Like you talked about, we'll just call it the good turkey hunters, right? Because I'm not picking fun at anybody. We all know there's people out there that definitely say just use lead, call them in, kill them at 30 yards, just like you used to 15 years ago. Yep, great. But what my argument would be is if TSS costs the same amount as lead, and I told you here, Mike, this is a $10 shell. It has TSS in it. You can kill them at 70, even though you might not want to. Or here's a $10 shell, and you have to call them in to 30 yards. You better be picking this one. And the reason why guys aren't using it is because it's literally $20 a shell or more. And I don't blame them. I mean, you definitely don't have to use TSS, but we're fortunate enough. Everybody's situation is different, and we're fortunate enough to have an affiliation with a shell company. We don't get them for free, but we're not paying $25 a shell.
Yeah.
And we use them. We use them, and it's definitely an advantage. And they're nasty load, man. No matter who makes them.
Yeah.
Like you went through all the important details. More dense, smaller, more BBs. So, I would say 99% of your patterns will improve when you put TSS in your gun. I don't care what choke, what gun, what caliber. If you compare the apple to the apple, the TSS is going to be better all the time.
Yeah, it is. It's one of those. It's an advantage that I can't imagine not taking it. And the cost to me, let's say it is $20 a shell. That's still a third of the cost of the tank of gas that I burn each time I drive up to my turkey spot and back. I mean, really.
It is. That's true.
That's one of those, like, I've never understood that. And I don't care if it's Pennsylvania deerwoods, or this conversation about turkey ammunition, like cheaping out on ammo. Like, even for me, for dove hunting, I do a fair amount of dove hunting. We have great dove hunting in southern New Mexico. I don't shoot the cheapest Walmart shotgun shells I can buy. I don't buy the most, I'm not spending crazy money on shotgun shells, but I'm going to shoot good quality stuff because so much of the cost is in, getting myself there and my time and, all that other stuff. I'm not going to compromise it by, worrying about whether the shell I shoot costs $3 or $20. But because, again, I mean, I think in all my years of turkey hunting, I think probably 3 is the maximum number of shells that I've ever shot in one season. And I can think of that happening twice. And one year it was because it was in Kentucky and I broke a bird down over like 2.5 or 3 hours. I worked a bird because I was on private land. I couldn't leave. And I finally called him in and I missed him. I unloaded the gun at that turkey and did not get him. And then the other time was the season where I got one, and then I was with somebody who missed one, and then I shot at it twice. Well, hit it, rolled it, and then the bird got up and started running off, and I shot 2 shots at it, But I don't know. It's such a small part of the overall cost. It seems like a crazy thing to worry about.
And I don't think when you emptied your gun, you probably weren't sitting there going, "There goes $60." Like, you may have made that comment, but that's not why you're mad.
I thought about a lot of things before I thought about what the shells cost me.
Exactly.
That one really hurt my feelings. I will never forget that turkey. Yeah.
And I hate it. Those conversations really frustrate me when guys argue about that stuff, because it's my gun, it's my money, it's my hunt, it's my it's my setup. So leave it alone. Quite frankly, I don't care what your opinion is. You're not giving me $110 to go buy a box of shells, and I'm not giving you $110 to go buy a box of shells. So who cares?
Right. I also suspect that there's some critics out there who say, Well, you just got to call them into 30 yards.
Oh, 100%.
And then when that bird's hung up at 50, they're peppering him with pellets and maybe not getting them.
Yeah.
I think that discipline, it's not hard for that to break down. And I'd just rather have the shells that I know will get the job done.
We had when we started filming hunts, we used to call it the Mountain Hollow Death Flop. Like when we would kill one, we'd be like, another one does the flop, you know. And now the joke is because we have a partnership with Eric Kaufman there at Kinetic Gunworks. It's the Mountain Hollow Death Drop. Like when you kill them, they just lay there.
Down.
There's no flopping, and they're definitely a more deadly load than your 3-inch lead that I grew up shooting. That's always been. There's no doubt about it. Nobody can tell me any different. Nobody can argue that.
No, you can. I'll argue with somebody about whether you should use them and whether it's ethical to shoot 70 yards or whatever other part of that conversation you want to have. But as far as a better way, it is a better way. It is a better shotgun shell.
It's happened to me, and I'm sure it'll happen again. The difference now, I have literally missed turkeys because I pulled the trigger. Here comes a bird, right? Full strut, logging road. That just happened to me, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. Pull the trigger, bang, he flies away. I step it off. Oh, it's not 35 yards, it's 55 yards. At TSS, I still would kill him.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, like, I would have just walked another 20 yards further and picked him up.
Right.
So,
yep.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about next year. What are we going to do?
Next year, I'm coming to see you. I already told the guys. So, Mountain Hollow's got a cool thing going on. We're going to send a group of guys. We're going to start traveling as a group, and we're going to go to Idaho, Oregon, and Washington. There's going to be 6 or 8 guys out there once we get that figured out. But I am coming to see you in New Mexico, and I'm excited about that because you got to tell me. I don't know exactly where we're going to hunt. I'm sure we'll talk about it, but New Mexico Merriam's, they're pretty white tipped, aren't they?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
right?
we rarely see a bird that's not, pretty white. I mean, we've maybe shot 1 or 2 that are kind of cream colored, but pretty white.
I'm going to be in a little bit of a dilemma because this bird over, he's right here. This one right here. He's a Merriam and he's not white. So when I get the white tips, fingers crossed, I'm going to have to probably put him in there. I'm going to have to put a new picture, and I won't be able, I'll have to keep it. I'll have to do something.
Yeah.
That would be cool. I'm looking forward to it. Do me a favor and kill all the snakes and all the spiders. Get rid of all of them.
The good news for you, Jeremy, is unless my spots are like they were this year, we'll probably end up in northern New Mexico where the snakes and stuff are not much of an issue in turkey season. So
I know Ken. We were talking. Ken's son is in the Air Force.
Yeah,
he's actually going to be living. I can't remember the name of the town, but Ken was talking about staying with his son and everything. I don't think it's that close to you.
Yeah, I think it's more. Said he was at Holloman Air Force Base down near Alamogordo.
Yes, that is correct.
Which there are turkeys up in the mountains from Alamogordo, but that's and probably more snakes there too. But that's quite a ways from where I'm hunting.
I'm coming to see you then. Ken can. You know how to run a camera? I'm coming to hunt with you.
I was gonna say I'm a fast learner, but that's not true. I'm a slow learner, but we'll try it.
Rule number 1: hit the record button before you do anything.
I have a funny story about I had a really great video of my little brother missing what at the time would have been the Potter County buck of a lifetime with me with a camcorder in my hand, and I never hit the record button.
I've done it. I'm sick to my stomach. I did it when we were out in Colorado. I did it to Mark, and oh my God, it's the worst feeling ever. It's worse than missing one with a shotgun.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Well, next year when we get you that bird, or maybe 2, because you get 2 tags here,
yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Then we got to talk about a turkey call partnership. I want an ODR Mountain Mama for a diaphragm call. So
What do you mean?
I want a Mountain Hollow game call that says ODR on it for Outdoor Rules.
Oh, okay. Oh, we can
yeah.
easily do that. My
We'll
goodness.
work on a turkey call design, but you got to let me get you one first. We got to prove up.
So. Oh, we're gonna get them. We have to. We have to get them.
We'll find them somewhere.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll start poaching spots from the good turkey hunters that I know.
Yeah, get it. Chick, go buy a new truck or do something like that and just start going in there.
Exactly. We'll get a rental car.
Yes, we'll have one. We'll have one that probably says, who knows what it'll say.
There you go.
Maybe it'll say California with any luck. We'll just cruise around in that.
Exactly. Well, right on, man. Thanks so much for doing this. Was there anything else before we closed out you wanted to get to?
No, man, I'm all set. We'll have to do this again. We'll have to just touch base throughout the year and talk about deer hunting or something.
Yeah,
we
we should visit in the fall. We'll get into that. Where Caitlin and I are kind of making plans. I have a friend with a place in Illinois, and I'm always remiss because I don't go back there enough. And Caitlin's actually got some family near Carbondale, and they own 100 acres or so in Illinois, and we've never deer hunted it. And I know there's big bucks on it. No, nobody's been deer hunting it. I mean, I'm sure the neighbors are, all hunters and hunt the edges, but yeah, it'll be an exciting deer season.
I got something I want to. So we'll do a little sneak peek here. We'll talk about this offline. Are you familiar with licking branches and orbital scent and gland lure and all that? Have you ever?
Yeah.
Do you mess with that at all?
I don't mess with it a lot, but I don't hunt. I don't get to hunt whitetails in that kind of situation very much anymore.
Well, think about think about somebody who might be willing to. I got something I want you to try.
Okay.
And we won't talk about it right now. You and I'll talk about it offline, okay. And then we'll maybe for a deer hunting topic. It's really cool, and I've had a lot of success doing it, and I can share some information with you from a guy who studied it and did research and wrote articles, and it's really cool. And we'll get into that later on.
Right on.
Towards the fall. So
sounds like a perfect thing to chat about come November.
Yeah, a little segue about it.
Yeah. Well,
maybe we could even get him on here with us. He would be more than willing to do that.
Absolutely.
All right, man.
Well, thanks so much for coming on, Jeremy.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
And for all the listeners, check out Mountain Hollow Game Calls. I mean, obviously you can tell from listening to Jeremy, he's the real deal, and I kind of feel like we're fast friends, and it's just this connection from hunting, so it's great.
Well, next spring when I hand you a mouth call with outdoor rules on it, that'll tie the knot.
We'll keep that in mind. And then you guys have tons of content up on YouTube. I got behind a little bit on this year's Hollow Ground turkey hunting episodes, but there's lots of stuff out there and more coming, right?
Yeah, so the turkey season, the Hollow Ground, that whole storytelling, video journal type of concept. Turkey season was a good start for that, but deer season. So Uriah has an African series, 2-part series coming out, and I think it's going to be August or September, and then we're going to kick it off with an antelope hunt. But our deer hunts, we really tried to show people how we were hunting, not just a successful hunt. So I'm really excited about that. So if guys are looking for some YouTube content to watch, I'd love to have feedback. I love to have negative feedback more than I like to have positive feedback, because negative feedback we can pay attention to. Guys tell you it's great, you just keep rolling on with it. But, send people over to the YouTube channel, and it'll be like September, October when we start rolling out those deer shows.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah.
And for us, you can find all of our content on our website, www.outdoorrules.com, and the socials there at Outdoor Rules on Instagram and our Facebook page. And we say it every episode. Biggest thing is send us a message, shoot us an email, outdoorrules@gmail.com. Thanks again for doing this, Jeremy. I can't wait to check in again.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I can't wait to be on it again.
and fishing, the great outdoors, mixing history, laughter, love, and folklore, creating memories with family and friends. These are the trophies that matter in the end. Outdoor roots.